there's a very iconic song from my vintage by a very iconic band called U2, and the song is With or Without You. Of course, that sentiment can apply to many situations in life, but I think it might be fair to say that it is extremely applicable when it comes to social media. We can't live with or without social media because it is a realm that seems to present an equal number of opportunities and a commensurate number of disadvantages, making it this Sophie's choice. And I think that it's really what one as an individual makes of that opportunity and that experience that defines what it will be for that person. Cerebrally Uncensored is what we are calling today's edition of Talk Therapy, brought to you by Driveway Devi. As usual, I'm Karthik on behalf of Driveway Devi. And to delve into the red flags that exist and social media presents, we are joined by the very learned and erudite Pavitra Sahai. I'm extremely delighted and privileged that Pavitra has made the time to join us, and I would like to thank her and welcome her. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, before we journey into social media, I want to very quickly underscore what I found to be such a fascinating facet of your own personal life, which is the way you travel. And we're in an era where everything slow is trending, slow fashion, slow cooking, and you are somebody who slow travels. Please explain to us what that is and why you do it that way.
I don't know about slow traveling being a trend or not, but I've always liked when I travel to really get a real feel of the place. I am not one of those people who, like personally, I don't like traveling in like 2 days with this huge bucket list. Like I have to see this, and all the touristy places. I like to really be there like a local, get the real feel of the place. And I think for that, like you need a long time to be there and actually be like a regular person there. And since I run my private practice currently, which is based primarily online, I have that privilege of being able to be in a place for like 2 3 months and live there like a regular person, doing my work and maybe exploring on the weekends or having little rituals like watching the sunset every evening, like say from the landing site in Beer or going to the forests in Manali. So yeah, so I like that, and I feel it also helps me personally, of course, and also professionally because in the sense that I get a real feel of people, different contexts, different stories. So yeah, that's why I think it helps me in many ways.
Well, it's such a beautiful way to travel because it's really then genuinely immersing yourself, engaging with the culture, the community, the heritage, and the current avatar of a particular place and region. It's the perfect segue for us to get into social media because on social media, you tend to find the diametric opposite type of traveling being propagated, wherein there are listicles galore of the top Instagrammable places to visit when you go to a specific town or city or region, and people tend to try and cram in as many of those as possible to take those obligatory selfies at those hotspots. And I really, really sometimes wonder what, if anything, they are actually experiencing of that particular place where
Mm.
the focus and attention seems to be just to go there and get that picture and get the hell out of there in order to make it to the
Yeah.
to the next destination before it's time to return home. So social media has created this veneer of the perfect life, and by the sale and propagation, subtly or not so subtly, of a slew of products and services, it has become this very, very uh, aspirational place and fallacy to me personally. I would love, as a therapist and as a psychologist, to get your understanding, perception, and observations about this entire sort of man-made ecosystem that has been created on social media.
Yeah. I mean, well, there are many things that I think many people's profiles are also very identical to what's trending, and yeah, like you said, certain places are very, the moment it's say put up by a very influential say travel content creator or something, like everyone wants to go there, and like if you don't do it, then it's like, my God, like something's, I'm missing out and stuff like that. So yeah, that is true. Whether it's about travel, whether it's about, I don't know, even like concerts, like we had so many concerts right now, so many different kinds of, artists, musicians, different like genres of music, but like everyone had to go, like there were sales also, I think, of like someone was selling some stories of like, I think Diljit's concert, and I think certain group of friends found out that they all had the same story because they like paid some 100 rupees or 99 rupees or something for those, to get that,
Correct.
reel, not
Yeah.
reel, sorry, a story.
Right.
Yeah. And actually, we find that even in the mental health space, sadly, a lot of people promote like services and, programs that are very unrealistic and seem very shady also at times. Like, since I just mentioned 99 rupees, it just struck me that I think I once saw somewhere I saw this little, also the flyer or the poster hardly had anything. It just had like couples counseling at, I think it was 299 or something. And I mean, first of all, and it was like just, WhatsApp on this number. I think that felt very shady because, first of all, I don't think any couples counseling session would be 299 rupees, first of all. Not saying that, therapy is very expensive, because that's another, thought process that people have. People do have, I mean, first of all, I'll say yes, therapy is a privilege because there's some amount of financial capacity required. But also there are people who do pro bono, pay as you can. They have certain number of slots. So all that, it's not that you have to be like this very rich person to, access therapy. But yeah, you have these kind of people promoting this, like this person whoever this person was saying, like 299. Like I wonder, there's nothing about their qualifications, and it just feels like you're wanting work or you're trying to promote yourself. Like I don't know what that is, but that's quite shady. Then on the other hand, once I saw something which said, another new thing, trauma is just being thrown, like a lot of words are being thrown
Mm.
randomly, which we can also get into, which are like very trending the moment you open say Instagram. But I saw this program that someone was marketing, that trauma healing in 3 days, and they had this huge, it was like an itinerary, like with lots of things, like we'll be doing this mapping and, naming all these very high-tech technical terms
Mm.
from the field, and that your transgenerational family trauma will also be
Correct.
healed. And
Correct.
I don't think that if you know what trauma is, I mean, trauma cannot be healed in 3 days. So that's
Mm.
like very unethical as a
Mm.
professional to put
Mm.
something
Mm.
like that out. It's very dangerous
Mm.
because, there's a lot of responsibility that's put on to you when you have this qualification, designation, and you're giving, like, someone who's really at that moment helpless is believing you that you know what you're saying. So that's like really feeding off on people's really
So
hopeless
Pavitra, if I
situation.
can quickly come in here and interrupt and just add my two bits in terms of my observations as a layperson. And
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. And you brought up a very serious and critical, larger point where advice is being meted out that is possibly inauthentic, over promising, under delivering, misleading, because
Mhm.
there are three categories in which this seems to be happening. One is, in a very fundamental sense, essentially, it is to provide a hook. an unmissable hook that
mm,
immediately grabs the viewer. Now, that hook is being created either, as you very rightly exemplified, through a price offering, which is
mm,
unbelievable, or
yeah,
through a promise offering. There are so many videos and more which will begin with the lines specifically or similar to, "What if I told you blah, 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 blah?"
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So that is your over promising of, we will do this for you in such few days or hours, and we will
yeah,
transform in such few days. And number three is, at the other end of the spectrum, are these, and again, please, I'm not at all suggesting that all of these people are frauds or there's no authenticity or there aren't exceptions. But again, I find at the opposite end of the spectrum, a fair few number of these retreats,
mm,
where you are being sort of taken to very luxurious locales and put up in these very, very indulgent resorts and things like that,
mm,
where I find that the focus then really becomes in the garb of some kind of healing and inner work to just go
mm,
and have like a merry time. So, it's happening in different ways where
yeah,
the legitimacy is being compromised in terms of any kind of therapy, whether traditional or alternative.
mm, yeah. I mean, of course, like when you say alternative, of course, if someone is doing, say, acupuncture or something and they're qualified in that, that's different. But if it's being used with the term therapy, now that I think before I say anything, I think it's very important to understand because what is therapy? Because
Hmm.
another trending thing we see on Instagram is that everything is therapy.
Hmm.
Traveling is therapy, shopping is
Correct.
therapy. Therapy is so expensive, so let me talk to a friend or go for a drive. But what is therapy? Therapy, first of all, it's a process. First of all, it's not just something you do and feel good about, right? Or feel happy or relieved. It's a treatment modality. It's an intervention, right? Um, it's not just talking to someone, and venting out. It's a systematic uh, exploration of your thoughts, the way you behave, the way you make sense of the world, why you do what you do, your past experiences, your current situation, your mind body connection, understanding your nervous system. There's so many things that, are involved in therapy.
Yeah.
And it's also not just listening or venting, like there's a lot of active listening. Active listening is very different from just listening to someone. There's a lot of non-judgment. You have to have that space for your client and really have unconditional positive regard for them, empathy for them. It's a lot of hard work for the client and the therapist. And if you imagine, say, therapy as a huge tree with lots of branches, thick branches, tiny branches, like feeling good, feeling heard, venting, feeling happy is like one tiny branch in that tree. But there are many, many more things that happen. So, you know, to say that, okay, driving, shopping, traveling is therapy, already it makes no sense, right? Because you're not just going to feel happy. Yes, like driving, shopping, traveling, gardening, whatever, all these things, all your hobbies and things that make you feel happy or calm,
Hmm.
they're therapeutic.
Hmm.
There's a
Hmm.
difference.
Hmm. Hmm.
Therapeutic means, yes, it will bring you to the present moment because
Correct.
obviously, if you're driving or gardening or doing pottery, you have to be in the present. You can't be here and there. All your five senses will be engrossed
Absolutely.
in
No,
that.
it's like saying an individual is musical versus he or she is a musician. It's a
Yeah,
huge
yeah,
difference.
right, right, yeah. And so um, as I was saying, that is yes, it gives you relief and it makes you feel good. It could give you, like, if you shop something, yes, you will get dopamine, in your body. But that's not therapy. That's therapeutic. So even with these retreats, if something is happening where there are different, like, say, there's yoga happening, there's some artwork. Again, is there really a creative arts therapist, a qualified whose modality is using creative arts
Correct,
in
correct,
therapy,
correct.
um, is that there and then they're using it. And even
Yeah.
then, I'd like to add, if you go for say 4 or 5 days for a retreat or a program or a group experience, that's not therapy, it's a therapeutic experience.
Hmm, hmm.
And yes, that or even all these other things that people do, shopping, driving, traveling, those could be supplementary to, if you choose to go for therapy, that can be supplementary. Like it's not, but that's not therapy. Just like how your food is your main food and you take, say, vitamin tablets. So even these experiences, I mean, it would be nice if someone's already going for individual therapy to that person who's curating this experience, or on their own somewhere else they have their own therapy space, and then they're using this as a supplement.
So,
But to
so, so
call
I
it,
have
yeah,
again. I'm terribly sorry. I'm interrupting. I have a
no,
couple of
that's
thoughts, and I think they're of value. One is, if I'm hearing correctly, and if we were to talk about navigating some of these situations and these red flags, or potentially, offerings that could be misleading, if not guarded against with a certain amount of discernment and knowledge and awareness, is that one crucial way of navigating them is to have clarity of one's own in terms of, okay, this is what the proposition is, but this is what it's really offering, to not
yeah,
overread into it.
right, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Right now, the other thing is that the just like any marketplace, even social media is inhabited by and populated by people who are doing legitimate work also.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
You're on social media, you have a legitimate sought after practice. We are on social media as Driveway Devi. We put it out there very, very vehemently as a caveat in everything we do right at the beginning, that we are not mental health professionals.
Yeah.
Now, my question simply is that for a lay person,
Hmm.
what is a way of making that distinction between the authentic and the disingenuous in this
Yeah.
space?
Right. So I think the first thing, like like, um, because what you're saying is true. There are a lot of people giving, opinions like, it's good to diversify. If you create content or you put out stuff, whatever you're doing, and you want to diversify from, say, travel, lifestyle to something else, that's fine. But to diversify into therapy and, giving advice that, something like, oh, you need to leave this, you need to have self-respect, why are you in this relationship? Some people, I know it's the whole algorithm and all of that, but, uh, you know, you won't start giving people advice on surgery, for example, right? So just like that, like how surgery is surgery, therapy is therapy, nothing
Yeah,
else
yeah,
is therapy.
yeah.
So I think, uh, when someone like that, first of all, whoever puts such stuff, like no one would stay in an abusive relationship just like that, or any abusive situation. In fact, you won't even allow a stranger to abuse you in
Mm,
any form,
mm,
right? So it's
mm,
always done by someone close and after a
mm,
long time, and it's very complex.
mm,
So that's anyway, but that's a different conversation. But just like, I think, as a first of all, as a not a professional, if you're a professional, that's fine. But anyone who's putting out something, I think, firstly, it's very important that you, if you're not a professional, to mention that this is my opinion. Or if you've been for therapy and you're sharing something, you can say that my therapist told me this. So that's about you, because this 30-second nugget size does not even, encapsulate that person's life and their
yeah,
context, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think to put that out there, very important. And also, like, as a viewer, to check who is saying this. Okay, you see something and it strikes a chord or
Mm,
hits a point in you.
mm.
Who are they? Are they qualified?
Hmm. And
Read the
which
whole
I
thing.
will definitely add here, that because of the surplus information that is available
Yeah.
now, it's actually fairly easy and an advantage to be able to do a certain amount of fairly accurate due diligence on an individual.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of psychologists and therapists, who are qualified, practicing, and also with huge followers, right? And they put some great content,
Yeah.
and even that, just because some a psychologist is saying something, you don't have to take everything. If it
Correct. Correct.
resonates, you take that. And I think even psychologists, that's not therapy. Again, what they're putting out on Instagram is just to spread awareness. I think to take whatever they say, if something is feeling like, oh yeah, this happens with me, or this, something that is there, it's a good point to ponder and think about, because there is no substitute for therapy. Just like that's why I'm using surgery as another example, that there is no substitute. That this because again, therapy comes from what? It comes from psychotherapy, counseling, and therapy is all from psychology. Psychology is a science, and it's a science which is based on empirical research. It has neuroscience in it, biology in it, statistics in it, genetics in it. So I don't know how, it's like some ethical anger that comes up when we see, because it's, you open Instagram and everything is therapy. So
Absolutely,
I
because
think that's,
everybody and his uncle is just dispensing advice.
yeah. 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 And this really is, why the ethical anger also comes up for me and a lot of other, therapists that I know, is because a lot of work has gone to break the stigma. And if this happens, then you're diluting that. And
Hmm.
you're also trivializing other people's experience who maybe go for therapy. Like even
Hmm.
trauma is a word that's just thrown.
Hmm.
Everything is not trauma. Just because something makes you sad or irritated or angry, I mean, that's basic human emotions, just like happiness. So
Of
that's not
course, I
trauma.
mean that phenomenon of the dilution and casualization of
Yeah.
an entire set of terms and terminology is very very
Yeah.
sad. The way things like उसे डिप्रेशन हो गया वो तो एंजाइटी हो गई उसे तो पैनिक अटैक हो गया he's
Yeah.
so OCD all of this
Yeah. Oh
is
my God.
so incorrect and wrong and
Mm.
inappropriate and just actually unethical because a lot of us who do this
Mm.
don't even know the half of what that
Yeah.
condition entails.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really true, because even like you said, OCD, just because you like things
Orderly.
symmetrical or yeah, color coordinated a little bit, that's not OCD. Is like there's a very strict
Yeah,
criteria. And by strict, I mean that it has to be something that's there every day, minimum an hour in a
absolutely.
day
And
goes
it's
into, yeah.
debilitating. People can't do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, and that someone around you may have it, and if it's so trivialized, that person will not feel safe enough to even bring it up, because it also becomes like a bit of a laughing matter. People use it like that, and it's not a laughing matter.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Um, as we wrap up, you may think that oh my God, right at the end he's opening up
Hmm.
Pandora's box, but I think it's very important to at least touch upon this, which is going back to actually, in a sense, the way we had started, where I was
Hmm.
talking about this entire world of products and services that is
Hmm.
peddled and propagated across social media, which includes very critically a lot of things that create this definition and ideal to aspire to, particularly of beauty. Um, and I was talking about this to my wife. I was talking to her about things such as trolling and cyberbullying across social media and things like of that nature. And she pointed out a study where every time there's been a tectonic shift and a paradigm new technology has come in, whether it was the internet, whether it was CDs when they happened. At each of those instances, people had pronounced those realms evil. And actually, it really boils down to an individual and his or her uh, robust or deficit self concept and how resilient they are, which determines whether you are even impacted by these kinds of evils that exist or not, because it's not unique to social media. That is how the world is. There are people who are mean and there are people who are sweet. So,
Yeah.
I suppose my question is that how can one guard against falling prey to some of these very, very unrealistic ideals that are being created on social media, for example, in terms of beauty and what would be considered beauty. For example, in terms of, oh my God, you're such a loser if you haven't been to Bali and to X, Y, and Z spots in that place. What is the way of even beginning to guard against it? I mean, does one start to live under a rock and denounce social media altogether, or what does one do?
Mm. I mean, that's a very, I mean, I can't tell anyone exactly what they should do, and it's not as easy. Like, I don't think I can give like a very clear-cut answer to this, but I mean, like you said, it's not only social media. These things existed earlier also, right? Whether it's about physical appearance, whether it's about money, status, it was always there, right? Like complexion, height, weight. You have to earn this much, or even professions. Like only if
Yeah, yeah,
you're a doctor and engineer, you're of any value.
yeah,
So all of that has been there way before social media also.
yeah.
So I feel it's a journey of your own, and also I think it's also a collective journey. I think because nothing happens in isolation. I think it's important. One way is to really think of what's important to you actually. What do you really
Hmm,
value? Do you
hmm,
really want to go to Bali?
hmm,
Maybe you want to go to, I don't know, Ladakh and not Bali, for example. Or maybe you don't even like traveling, you like something else. It's not that just because everybody likes traveling, you also have to like it or anything. So I think to really take a little bit of a breather and think what's important to you, what is actually of value to you. And if something, why is it of value to you? When you go deeper, you will figure, is it really you or someone else has made you feel that you're only worthy if you have this much money or you look like this? And trends will never change, I feel, because even if you just look at, say, uh, physical appearance, I think, like, uh, just based on my lifetime, I've seen that earlier there was like a little bit of like, I don't know the right words to use here, but not too thin and skinny. There was a different kind of figure that they
hmm,
preferred. I mean, the words, I don't know what words to use
hmm,
exactly,
hmm,
but
hmm.
for women,
Be
that was
careful
there.
because, yeah, you might
Yeah.
end up using inappropriate
No, no,
words.
I'm not using any inappropriate word, but just like, like even words can play a big
Yeah,
role. Like
yeah,
what word
absolutely,
means
absolutely.
what for who. But then, then it became like really, there was a size zero
Correct,
phase. Then
correct.
now it's the more athletic. So I'm just saying, like,
Right.
and it's not just social media has made the world really small. So it's all like in our palm. But even region wise, where you go, things change. Certain places, they like certain body types, certain skin color, certain hair. So it's, I mean, what you can't keep changing, right? So I think to
No,
really go deeper for yourself.
I take your point, and I think you are essentially sort of suggesting that a very similar thought to what I have, because you might agree that the same question can be posed in different words by saying or asking that how does an individual guard against societal stroke peer pressure, because actually that is essentially what it is, right? You see something and then you have FOMO and then you feel pressured into doing certain things or going certain places or looking a certain way.
Yeah.
And in terms, as far as this kind of pressure is concerned, at least in my limited observation as an educator who's interacting constantly with kids in middle and high school, again, it boils down to the degree of self assuredness of a particular individual in terms of how much that pressure gets to that person or doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, like self-assuredness and all, because then that also puts a lot of, can bring about feelings of shame and stuff in
Hmm.
people. So I think the starting point for anything, and it's a journey. You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
never
yeah.
be like, oh, I fully healed, very confident, etc. I think self-awareness. That's why I said, like, what
Hmm.
is really important to you, and to go deeper where it comes from. If
Hmm.
having a certain kind of, I don't know, physical appearance, money, profession, whatever it is, like, where is it coming from? When you go deeper, to just understand where it's coming from, then you'll know whether how much of it is mine and how much of it is conditioning or other people's expectations.
Correct.
So I think self-awareness, uh, even if you're not going deeper, that willingness to start thinking that, okay, let me examine this for myself, right? Because and I think to take breathers and just, like I said, if you hear someone saying that, oh, this is this and this, to pause and be like, is that for you, whether it's a professional or not, actually, right? Because you know your life better. And yeah, and I think, yeah.
But very quickly, Pavitra, when would it be fair to say that self-awareness obviously is, to me at least, the logical first step?
Mm.
It could well happen that as a consequence along that journey of excavating one's inner self, one unearths things that one is not okay with, so it has to logically be followed by a reasonable level of acceptance also.
Yeah, so if you're not okay with like, depends what are you not okay with, what you're wanting, that expectation. So that's where the conflict may come. That is it even yours? Is it fully yours? Why do you want it? And then of course that is what I said, that even when people call just some discomfort trauma, that the word is
Hmm.
being thrown,
Hmm.
that we are so like wanting to avoid any uncomfortable feeling. But emotions are just emotions, like whether they are uncomfortable or not comfortable. And the more we try and sit with it, the more easy, or yeah, maybe easy, I can say, it becomes for you to, navigate that. And of course, no one is saying to bombard yourself with a lot of self-awareness and now have to go really deep and all of that, with safety. And that's why I'm not saying that you have to go for therapy. I'm not trying to
Correct,
promote
correct.
that here, but I'm just saying that even in therapy, it's not that you're going to be bombarded or
Hmm.
something like that. It is at your pace, slowly,
Hmm.
gently, with a lot of safety.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Well, that's a wonderful way of concluding this session. If I can, sort of sum up from whatever I've understood, I think any forum that is created or gets created organically, literally from the United Nations to a council of ministers in a country to a club in a city to social media, uh, it really, really depends on what one does in and with that forum. And just to announce or pronounce something toxic and make that generalized conclusion and dismiss it is perhaps a little bit harsh and unfair. I've been told as an educator by scores and scores of parents for years now that sir, social media to bahut hi evil cheese hai wo hai, and I understand those parents' concerns and where they're coming from, but I still feel that like any cohort or realm or forum in this world, there are good and there are bad, and especially the few solutions and a certain amount of um, uh, intellectual understanding, due diligence, if an individual undertakes, it is absolutely not only possible to navigate the space of social media, but even employ it for good of one's own and of society.
Yeah, of course. And that's very true, because everything has a good and a bad side, and you can choose what you want to take, right? Because like I said, that there might be professionals or non-professionals who are putting up services or things, but as a viewer you can check, right? So even if you want to know what is therapy, what is trauma, if this person is saying trauma healing, whatever, there is a lot of information available. There are podcasts, there are actual research papers that are published, there are, even on say Instagram, you have therapists, legit therapists, qualified therapists who put just content for like
Mm,
awareness.
mm.
So that you have that access to check for yourself. So it can be really good also. It's how you use something, right? So
Absolutely.
that's that's in your hands, no?
Well, to say a big thank you to you and end on a positive and lighter note, it's time that you start your travel channel
Mm.
stroke account now. totally and only singularly dedicated to slow travel and start a new trend.
No, no, I don't want to start any trend, and traveling is more for me. And yeah, it's therapeutic for me. It's not therapy at all. Yeah, so yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a lovely interaction, and I'm very inspired. Actually, it was very selfish when I made you talk about your travel philosophy and ethos, because I would love to do it. I just don't have the gumption to be in some remote place for 3 months and work from there. Although I can just as easily do all of my work online.
Mm.
So it's a little bit of envy mixed with mostly mostly admiration. And yeah, so thank you very much for this
Thank you.
conversation, and hope to be in touch. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.